What's up, guys? It's the Actual Justice Warrior here, and today we're going to talk about how the media manufactures racism. I'm going to focus on one example, and that's the case of Dylann Roof. Now, Dylann Roof was an obviously racist person who committed one of the worst hate crimes / terrorist attacks in modern history. He walked into a historically black church and murdered 9 people because they were black. He has since been tried, convicted, and sentenced to death. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, if Dylann Roof was an obvious racist, how is this a case of the media manufacturing racism? While I won't dispute that Dylann Roof was racist, because it's an unquestionable fact in my mind, I want to talk about the story that came out shortly after his arrest. The infamous Burger King story. After Roof was arrested, we got a series of headlines about how he was treated to Burger King by these officers. How white killers get Burger King, but black suspects get killed. How Dylann Roof's Burger King treat is evidence of white privilege. The left-wing media took this narrative and ran with it.
He was treated to Burger King by officers when he was hungry.
As the police apprehended him in Shelby, they then treated him like a champ, like a gentleman.
What do you need? A double Whopper with cheese? Hold the pickles? What do you need?
And instead of portraying the reality that Dylann Roof is a disgusting human being that 99% of the country is against, they used this trip to Burger King to imply that the police had some sort of racist solidarity with him.
But it does not surprise me coming from a place that up to a couple of days ago was cool and dandy with having the Confederate flag flying over the state capitol.
That Dylann Roof was somehow rewarded for his act.
This mass killer who just shot 9 people to death in a church says, "Oh, I'm hungry. Why don't you go run and get me a Burger King?" They're like, "Oh yeah, right away."
That the Shelby PD and police departments across the country all feel the same way that Dylann Roof felt.
So it does not surprise me that there's this feeling of compassion, from the police department.
Because when they see Dylann Roof, they don't, maybe they see a killer, they saw a guy who's dangerous, they came in prepared, right? But at the end of the day, that guy doesn't look that different from me. That guy, okay, let me go get him a burger. Oh my God.
They said they weren't against his humane treatment, but they were against his special treatment.
Now look, the guy's got to eat at some point. You give him prison food, of course. Whatever the intervals are when you're supposed to get the food, give him the food as he's supposed to. Don't do anything out of the ordinary. Treat him as you would any criminal.
And most of us, when we see that, think, yes, they should have just fed him what they had on hand instead of going out to get him fast food. But there's one problem with it. The Shelby Police Department's in a small town and it doesn't have jail facility. The police didn't have anything on hand to feed Roof. And if you're thinking, fuck that guy, let him starve, I feel your pain, I despise the guy too, but it's an 8th Amendment violation to withhold food from a suspect. And information collected from a suspect who is denied food is inadmissible in a court of law. At this moment, I want to pause for a second. Can you imagine if the cops didn't feed Roof and his confessions were thrown out? Worse, if Dylann Roof now had grounds for a civil suit for his rights being violated, you'd be pretty fucking angry. And the Shelby PD would forever be the police department that bungled the Roof case. What you're seeing on screen now is driving directions from the Shelby PD police headquarters to the local Burger King. It's 5 minutes away. This shows that the narrative that the Shelby PD went out of their way to cater to Dylann Roof is false. They knew that they had to feed him, and it took them 10 minutes to do so. The ridiculous thing is that it's far more likely that the reason the Shelby PD did everything by the book in this case is because they knew how important it was. They knew what Dylann Roof did was completely awful and disgusting. And they wanted to make sure that they didn't make a stupid mistake that would end up helping Roof. But that extra care that they most likely took to get justice for the victims gets turned around on them. And it's used as proof that all police, especially the Shelby PD, is racist. What do you think the effect of this misrepresentation is? What if you're a black person in Shelby, and like most people, you don't have the time to fact check these things, and you hear that the police went out of their way to treat this white supremacist incredibly well? What happens when you get pulled over? Are you going to be a little more scared? Are you going to be a little more intimidated? What happens when you need to call the police for help? Are you going to be worried in the back of your mind that the police just aren't on your side? Look, I'm all for police reform and reining in excessive force. But I want to rein in the police when they do something wrong, not when they do everything right. For the record, I'm not saying that all these media organizations are filled with bad, race-baiting people that are deliberately lying to you. But a case like this gives you insight into their perspective. When I saw this story, I assumed there was more to it than the narrative that was being pushed. When they saw this story, it confirmed their preconceived notions about police and race in America. It was way too good of a story to fact check. And that's why they ran with it. If you like this video, then please hit that like button. If you want other people to see it, then click that share button. You can subscribe for more content. This has been the Actual Justice Warrior. Until next time.